Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu salam, sallallahu assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Tariq Khalid. I'd like to welcome to our program here at Sharjah Media Corporation, doing good, and we hope by Allah's mercy and grace that all the believers at this particular time are doing good and enjoying the favors of Allah in this world, which is of course temporary, and we're talking about that which is permanent, and we're hoping that everyone is focused on the hereafter, working as hard as we can in this world, of course, to do good, expecting our reward from Allah. So in this series, we're going to be talking about paradise, because what is the reward for it? What is Allah going to give us? And Allah doesn't have to give us. And of course, it is also not incumbent on, well, I say it is incumbent upon us to do good, but it is not necessarily that your good deeds are equal to what you receive in paradise. Yes. We are totally dependent on the mercy of Allah. It is important for us to understand that it is Allah's mercy that grants us paradise, not all the deeds that we do. But of course, we should continue and stay focused on doing good and enjoying good and forbidding evil and encouraging other people to do good, so that our society becomes a wholesome society, and our society becomes that kind of a society which Allah is pleased with. So the first thing we want to talk about is, who would be the people of paradise? Now, there are people out there that say, okay, man, listen, your paradise and your hell is right here, brother. I'm suffering right here, or my life is great right here. Everything is beautiful, it's fantastic. I know I'm going to die, but don't talk about dying, because I'm enjoying myself too much. And everything is good for me. I'm not worried about it when I die. Well, there are millions of people who think like this. And of course, maybe millions of other ideas and concepts in relationship to what happens to you after you die. But we're talking about what was consistently brought by all of the prophets, including, of course, Jesus and Moses, because I'm taking time to talk about this because many people think that they're in conflict with the Muslims, believe. The Jews and the Christians think they're in conflict with us. And this, of course, is a big misunderstanding. For the people who really know what Jesus brought, they know clearly without doubt, that this is the same message. The people who really know what Moses brought, they know exactly what we're talking about. They know about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, just like they know about Moses salam, and they know about Jesus salam. That's right. And for you, and I'm not speaking to attack anyone, but I'll say out there to anyone who's a Christian or anyone who's a Jew, sit with learned clergy, not just the average guy out there. Sit with learned clergy, rabbi or priest or minister who has really studied, and ask him and see what he says. And I'm assuming that he has nothing to hide. He will tell you the truth. And you should know if he's not telling you the truth, because they know. And how do they know? And why I'm taking the time to say this, because there's so many false conceptions out there. And as a result of that, of course, the people don't want you to know the truth. They don't want you to become a Muslim. They don't want you to come to this. They want you to stay with them and whatever it is that they are saying, and be obedient and submission to what they're saying. So we're saying that, in conclusion, of course, in relationship to this, is that the prophets came in succession, one after the other. And when one prophet came, whatever message the prophet came before him, that message it was concluded. And everyone who was a follower of the prophet who came before him was responsible for following the new prophet. And it is not any different, but of course on a much higher level, because the prophets of Allah were appointed by Allah. But if we look at it from the perspective of how we're living in our countries today, we have an election for a prime minister or a president or king or whatever title the leader of your country is, and when he dies or when his time is finished and someone else takes his place, what happens? You have the responsibility of following that person who is leading. So how is it different in relationship to the prophets of Allah? And of course, we see the same thing today, don't we? We see people says, well, I grew up during the time of this guy, so I favor him. I don't like the new guys that are out here, so I'm going to be with this group. So we have the same thing today, don't we, in this relationship to common people. But people don't think of it in relationship to the prophets, that they're doing the same thing. But of course, we have a higher order. This is a commandment from Allah, and your hereafter is dependent on it. This is a distinction. This is a distinction. We have to understand this. Your hereafter, meaning your eternity is dependent on it. Whatever you have or you don't have in this world is temporary. It's a secondary fact. It's a secondary matter. But when you talk about your hereafter, we're talking about you're risking your eternity. And we need to understand that. So let's see what was said in relationship. This is collected by Bukhari, and it was reported by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, that the Prophet ﷺ said, the believers will be saved from the fire. Then they will be kept on a bridge between paradise and hell. They will settle their accounts with one another for any wrongs that existed between them in this world, until they are purified and cleansed, and will be permitted to enter paradise. By the one whose hand is the soul of Muhammad, each of them will know his dwelling in paradise better than he knew his dwelling in the world. So this is not, people want to say, well, brother, this is a nice story, but this is kind of fantasy. I'm living in the here and now. He says, of course, all of us are living here and now. All of us are dealing with our existence on a daily basis. All of us are facing the challenges that we face in this world, whether it's day by day, year by year, or whatever it is. We all are dealing with it. But does that mean that this is the end of it, or this is the best of it, or the worst of it? No, not by a long shot. Not at all. Whatever people are suffering in this world is nothing compared to hellfire. And whatever benefits that people have in this world are like a grain of sand compared to the paradise. And Muslim is reported by Anas that the Prophet ﷺ said, I will come to the gate of paradise and ask for it to be open. The gatekeeper will ask, who are you? I will say, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The gatekeeper will say, I was ordered not to open this gate for anyone else before you. So what does that mean? It means simply that the Prophet ﷺ, he would be the first person to enter paradise. And Bukhari reports from Abu Hurairah, the Prophet ﷺ said, the first group to enter paradise will be as beautiful as the full moon. They will not spit, blow their noses, or excrete. Their vessels will be of gold, their combs of gold and silver, the incense of aloe, and the sweat of musk. Each of them will have 2 wives, the marrow of whose leg bones will be visible through their flesh because of their extreme beauty. There will be no differences or hatred among them, meaning the people of paradise. Their hearts will be as one, and they will glorify Allah morning and evening. Now, the women say, well, listen, brother, how come the brothers always have to have all these women? The sister says, why can't we be happy, and why can't I have my man to myself? At least in paradise, why can't I have my man to myself? Here we go again. This man has all these women. What is my time going to look like? Well, we need to understand something. In paradise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give the believers whatever it is that they wish. And there will be no anxiety. All of the emotions that we have, the negative emotions that we have in this world, jealousy, the desire to overpower over people, dominance, hypocrisy. All of these things that people have in this world that are negative will not exist in paradise. So, of course, this is something that we cannot conceive of because, of course, we're surrounded by these negative things, and many of those things are within us. And, may Allah protect us from that, and may we continue to strive to do righteous, decent actions. So, but in paradise, we need to understand that this will not be. So this kind of anxiety will not exist that we see, this kind of conflict that people have with other people. Well, we just don't get along. We just don't vibe together. We're just not on the same page. We're not on the same, in the same logarithm, as an example. But in paradise, it won't be like that. It'll be something totally different. Just if we see what it says that Allah has created for the believers. And Bukhari reports from Sahil bin Sa'd, the Prophet ﷺ said, 70,000 or 700,000 of my ummah will enter paradise. The first of them will not enter until the last of them does. So, and their faces will look like the full moon. And there's another report by Ahmed, who reports in the Sahih, that Abu Bakr said, the Prophet ﷺ said, I have been given 70,000 of my ummah, my nation, who will enter paradise without being called to account. Their faces will be like the full moon, and their hearts will be as one. I asked my Lord, may he be glorified for more, and he gave me, along with each one of them, 70,000 more. So if we look at this, we ask Allah to make us among those 70,000, and that 70,000 that's been multiplied by each one by another 70,000 that will be entering paradise without reckoning. This is a great blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bukhari reports from Ibn Abbas that the Prophet ﷺ said, I was shown the nations and I saw a prophet pass by with a group of his people, and another with a band of his people, and another with only 10, another with 5, and another on his own with no followers. Then I looked and I saw a large crowd of people. I asked, Jibril, who is an angel, are these my nation? He said, no, but look at the horizon. So I looked and saw a huge multitude of people. Jibril said, these are your nation, and those 70,000 in front will not be called to account or punished. I asked why. He said, they did not treat themselves with branding or cauterization or with ruqya, charms, and they did not see evil omens in things. They were not superstitious. They put their trust only in their Lord. Ukasha bin Misan stood up and said, pray to Allah to make me one of them. And the Prophet said, O Allah, make him one of them. Then another man stood up and said, ask Allah to make me one of them. And the Prophet said, Ukasha has preceded you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah number 56, verses number 10 to 12, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and those foremost in faith will be foremost in the hereafter. These will be those nearest to Allah, al-muqarrabun, in the garden of bliss. So we should strive and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the highest level of paradise, which is Firdaus. And we should believe that. And Tirmidhi reported by Abu Sa'id and Al-Ahmad Tirmidhi and Ibn Majah reported from Abu Huraira that the Prophet ﷺ said, the poor of the Muhajirin will enter paradise 500 years ahead of the rich of the Muhajirin. And elsewhere, the Prophet ﷺ explained that these are the people who have nothing to be brought to account for. And this is in addition to their jihad and virtue. And Hakim reported from Abdullah bin Amr that the Prophet ﷺ said, do you know who will be the first group of my nation to enter paradise? I said, Allah and His Messenger know best. He said, the poor of the Muhajirin. These are the people who left their homes in Mecca and went to Medina. They will come to the gate of paradise on the day of resurrection and ask for it to be opened. The gatekeepers will say to them, have you been brought to account? They will say, what do we need to be brought to account for? We were carrying our swords and fighting for the sake of Allah until we died. Then the gates will be open for them and they will stay there for 40 years before anyone else enters. And this is Sahih. And Bukhari reports from Usama bin Zayd that the Prophet ﷺ said, I stood by the gate of paradise and saw that the majority of those who entered were the poor and wretched. The rich Muslims were detained while the people of hell were ordered to be taken to hell. So if we look at this, we're talking about the people and their condition, the people who will be going to paradise, what kinds of things they've done in this world, about Allah's mercy and the Prophet ﷺ's concern for his nation. We need to look at and see, where does that place us? What is our condition? What is our status with Allah right now? And Abu Sa'id reported that the Prophet ﷺ said, the people of hell will remain there, never dying and never living, but there are people who will enter hell because of their sins and will be killed therein, so that they become like coals. Permission will be granted for intercession to be made, and they will be brought forth in groups and spread on the rivers of paradise. It will be said, O people of paradise, pour water on them, then they will grow like seeds in the silt left by a flood. Muslim also reports that Jabir bin Abdullah said that the Prophet said, some people will be brought out of the fire, having been burnt all over except for their faces, and they will enter paradise. And these people will be called al-Jahannamiyan. So there will be people who will be brought out of hellfire by the intercession of the Prophet ﷺ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will allow him to intercede. There are people who will be in hellfire. But hellfire is not a game. It's not a joke like many people think of this day. They say, oh, let's go to hell, like it's going to be something simple. We shouldn't think like that. We should continue to strive, and we should believe ultimately that we want paradise and be ready to make the efforts and sacrifices that are required to gain Allah's blessing and mercy. My name is Tariq Khalid. I'd like to thank you for joining us here at Sharjah Media Corporation on doing good and continue, as always, to be as obedient as possible to Allah and believe in Allah's gift to paradise. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.